for me to be here with you. I'm Héctor Figueroa, the president of Local 32BJ, and a member of the TISH team that is going to win the office of Public Advocate. It's a beautiful day. We've been baptized today as we begin our campaign to make sure that the city of New York has a public advocate that will follow on the steps of previous advocates and take our city to the next level. We want an office for the people of New York. We want the voices that have been unheard to be heard. And we want a city that works for all of its people. So it's my pleasure to begin this campaign kickoff, an announcement by introducing to you a few leaders who share with me their commitment to make sure that Tish James becomes our next public advocate. I'd like to introduce to you first a good dear friend, a strong voice for all New Yorkers, Council Member Melissa Mark Viverito.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
As Hector has said, I'm Council Member Melissa Mark Viverito, and I am extremely, extremely proud to be standing side by side with my sister here in the struggle, Tish James, to ensure that we work collectively, collaboratively, inclusively to make her the next public advocate for the city of New York. Tish has a track record that stands way beyond all of the other candidates in this race. She is committed, she is determined, she is consistent, she is progressive, and yeah, she's a bit loud. But all of those are traits that are very much needed and very important in ensuring that the voices of those that have been marginalized, those that stand on the sidelines, those that have not been represented well by government in general. We need a strong voice to stand up for all of us. So I'm proud to stand here on behalf of myself, my constituency. I will work very hard to ensure that Tish James becomes our next public advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, I want to call on another supporter of this campaign and a strong advocate for working families, Assemblywoman Annette Robinson.
I stand here this afternoon with colleagues and friends and supporters of the Honorable Tish James. She comes to us with a resume that proves that she has the passion, the concern, and the commitment to get the job done.
Yes.
Tish has served as a counsel to an assembly member. Tish James has been an assistant, a deputy attorney general for Brooklyn, and serving as a council member, she has stood up for the rights of all people.
Yes, she
Tish James is the one for our time.
Yes.
She has the passion, she has the commitment, she has the dedication. She will not let us down. We have seen how she has been on television. You know, it seems like they just love to hear her speak, and she's on television all the time talking about those issues and concerns that affect us, the working people. She's been there for immigration rights, has been there for housing, she's been there for education, she's been there for health care. I can think of no one greater than to have Tish James as the public advocate of the city of New York.
Great. Tish understands the needs of the city. She's a great sister. It doesn't matter if it's the borough of Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, or Manhattan. I'd like to call on somebody that can speak to that, and he's another strong voice for working families, our council member, Rosie Mendez.
10 years ago, when Tish ran on the Working Families Party line, People said, you can't win. She was the first successful candidate for the Working Family Party, and she swept in that race. Now, for the last 8 years, I've been working alongside my sister and my friend Tish James. She's a lawyer, she's a trained fighter, she has a voice standing up on every issue of importance in this city. When it's come to the public school system and what this mayor has tried to do, Tish has been there as a voice against some of the policies of the Bloomberg administration.
Right on.
When we were all left stranded in this city during the blizzard, as chair of the committee, she called out the Bloomberg administration on a catastrophe that ended up killing people. You remember her holding up those chains? The ones they didn't put on the buses? You remember that? And when it's come to public housing, though she does not sit on my committee, she comes to every one of my meetings because she understands that she has public housing in her district and she realizes that this is the most important issue. We need to preserve public housing as we know it. And as the next public advocate, she is prepared to work alongside me to do that. That is why I am here today, to be a strong voice and supporter for our next public advocate, the woman who knows all the issues of this city, Letitia Tish James.
Next, I want you to hear from someone who's been, really serving the public in New York for many, many years. He's always been a voice for those who are often disregarded in government. Let's hear from our city council member, Alvan.
All right, man, let's go.
Family, all that you have heard about Tish is true. I can attest to it for when I was in the assembly. For about 10 of those years, Tish served as my counsel. So I know about her intelligence. I know about her lawyer skills. She was a superb staff person and she made me look real good. In addition to that, you have had an opportunity, if you live in New York City, to know how she has served you as a council person. She has reigned far above many of us because you may not know what we're doing, but you know what Tish has done. And that's what you need in an advocate. So if you're looking for an advocate that's concerned about all of us in the city, then of course you want to support Tish.
Right.
If you're looking for an advocate who is committed to our community, committed to our city, committed to our people, then of course you're looking for Tish.
Right.
If you're looking for a public advocate that will challenge the mayor, will challenge the powers that be, if she feels that they are unjust, then you're looking for Tish.
Yes.
I don't have to tell anybody here because you know. The next public advocate will be, because you will support her and make it happen, Tish.
Yes.
Brothers and sisters, we have many, many friends of this campaign. I want to acknowledge the presence of former Assemblyman Roger Green that is with us. And I'd like to use the privilege of being here facilitating the beginning of this kickoff by saying a few words on behalf of the members of 32BJ. We have 125,000 members, 75,000 of them in the city of New York alone, and all of them know of the record of Tish James. Because Letitia Tish James has been with us when we have been fighting for good jobs in the city of New York, when we have demanded that workers be given the right to have paid sick leave. She has been there. When we have asked the government to be responsive to the city of New York for the less fortunate, to make sure that people can live in the city that they work, she has been there.
Yes, she has.
And when we have been fighting for the rights of all New Yorkers, including new recent immigrants who work very often under conditions that are deplorable, she has been there fighting for them as well.
Right.
Tish is a strong voice. We have seen in her an ally. There have been that we have agreed. There have been situations we have been able to agree, and there have been situations in the past that we may have been in different places. And I personally find that in every instant, it is the courage and the integrity of her convictions that drive her politics. It is a great pleasure for me to ask you to welcome what I think will be the next public advocate for the city of New York, the advocate that we need during this time in which the city has become the most unequal city in terms of wealth and income distribution in the whole country. The next advocate that will speak for working families as we meet a very difficult budget because of the irresponsibility of those in charge of not being able to negotiate contracts with civil servants. A public advocate that we need at a time that our city can really have a path for all of us if we all overcome our cynicism and indifference for being involved in politics. I believe that Tish James running for public advocate will help us bring our communities back to vote. We all need to be there so we can have a voice, and that voice in City Hall, that voice in government will be the one of our next public advocate, Letitia Tish James.
So, first, my thoughts and my prayers are with the family of the young lady who was shot on the bus in Queens. My thoughts and prayers are with the young man who was just shot in my district almost 2 hours ago in Farragut Public Housing. We obviously need to all come together to end this senseless gun violence in the city of New York.
That's right.
But I want to thank all of you for coming out here in the rain. Yes. No, I love you as well. I want to especially thank all of those who are supporting this campaign and who believe in our vision for New York City. I want to recognize Communities for Change and Working Families Party. And of course, all of my colleagues in government, Councilmember Melissa Mark Viverito, Councilmember Mendez, Assemblywoman Robinson, my former two bosses, Councilmember Al Van, and former Assemblymember Roger Green, and of course, the leader in the labor movement who is so well respected, who has been a champion, and who decided to take a chance on me because he shares my vision and my values. The head of 32BJ, Hector Figueroa. So what began as explorers and immigrants seeking a strange land in strange times has blossomed into the greatest city in the world. It's a city we all love and treasure. It's a city that challenges us every day. It's a city whose people take your breath away with their unique mixture of moxie and pride and strength and, yes, diversity, which is represented here today in the rain. But it's also a city that needs help right now. Our schools have some of the hardest working teachers who have been disrespected and the brightest students, but we're not tapping into their full potential. The race to the bottom by way of extreme testing, the school closures, and the forced co-locations are harming our educational system and limiting how well our children can truly do. We have a stop and frisk policy, which unfortunately is a form of racial profiling.
It sucks.
Which is not only a source of disrespect, but it's creating tension between police officers and the communities that they are charged with protecting. Middle class and working class families continue to be nickeled and dimed And even as wages remain stagnant, too many New Yorkers are finding it difficult, next to impossible, to make ends meet. And although it's difficult to measure poverty, we know from the city's own report that as recently as 2011, 46%, or nearly half of all New Yorkers, were living near the poverty line. I think that bears repeating. 46% of nearly half of all New Yorkers were living near the poverty line. I'm especially concerned about low-wage workers, even though legislative initiatives like paid sick leave, which I was so proud to support with my colleagues here, and other measures have represented progress. So much more needs to be done. Low-wage workers who wash our cars, clean our restaurants, and make our city run. Low-wage workers who care for the sick and the shut-in and our seniors have been exploited and mistreated. It's sad to say our government has not adequately addressed these and so many other challenges. Too many New Yorkers are feeling like they can't be heard, even if they shout out from the rooftops, which is why I am so loud. Well, I hear them, and I am kicking off my campaign with all of my friends here today for public advocate, so all of them can hear all of us here today. You know, I've had the wonderful honor of getting to know so many New Yorkers throughout my career as a public servant, as an activist, as a staff member in the Assembly, as a city council member. It's really been my privilege to serve the public. And when our after school and our libraries and our firehouses are all have been threatened to be cut, I decided to speak up because I thought it was immoral, and that the mayor of the city of New York, unfortunately, was ill-advised. They told me not to stand up, but it was important that I stood up. When we needed to pass the Safe Housing Act because our tenants were being ignored, abused by landlords who put their profits before safety and the well-being of residents, I stood up. When few were willing to stand up to powerful interests who wanted to come to our communities and develop without adequately contributing to our neighborhoods through jobs or affordable housing, I didn't get intimidated. I did not get deterred. I did what I thought was right. I stood up with my community. When paid sick leave was on the rocks, when others were getting pressured to repeal term limits, when children and families and communities needed a voice in the face of the wealthy and the well-connected, I stood up. And now, with your help, I'm running to become the next public advocate so I can once again stand up for all New Yorkers and make our city work for them. You see, the public advocate's job has basically three important functions. To litigate, done that. To legislate, done that. But most importantly, to agitate. The next mayor, whoever he or she might be, better believe that I will hold their feet to the fire. Support them when their policies are right, challenge them when they're wrong. And this wouldn't exactly be a new role for me. All you have to do is ask Mayor Bloomberg. But although holding the mayor accountable is an important component of the public advocate's job, I will do more and take proactive measures to pursue progressive policies and ensure access to government and services in every single community. I will transform the office of the public advocate by implementing 6 bold initiatives. 1, a citywide advocates network. We will redefine the office of the public advocate and partner with a network of local not-for-profit and faith-based organizations across the city to advocate for our communities. Whether it's consumer protection, trends of violence or abuse in individual neighborhoods, exploitation of tenants and immigrants, specific needs of school children and parents, the public advocate's office will be able to better learn and address the specific needs of individual communities. 2, a crisis intervention center. We've seen the deep holes in the city's administration's ability to respond to crises and take care of our neighborhoods when they need help the most. One need look no further than Hurricane Sandy or the winter storm from a few years ago that left the city stranded. As public advocate, I'll direct my office to serve as a crisis intervention center during emergencies and post-emergency periods. I will serve as a sharp scissor to help New Yorkers cut through the red tape and bureaucracy and put the power of the Office of Public Advocate behind every constituent complaint and request for services. 3, parental education and empowerment program. We know over the last decade, voices have been drowned out of the debate on how best to improve our educational system. Who knows a child's needs better than his or her parents?
No one.
Who could possibly care more about a child's academic success and preparation than the child's own mother or father?
No.
Under my leadership, the Public Advocate's Office will administer a parental education and empowerment program that helps parents understand how educational policy impacts their children and assists them in accessing the complicated maze of a Department of Education. We will go into parent associations and to faith-based organizations and everywhere else where we can find parents. We will not only talk to them, but most importantly, we will listen. And together we will improve the education offered to our children, one family at a time. Lastly, but more importantly, when parents do not speak English, we will make sure translators are there to help them. Because language should never be an impediment between you and your child's educational success. Cyber Awareness and Protection Unit. Remembering that annoying sound dial-up internet used to make when we first connected to the web, it's a whole new world we live in today, and New Yorkers are spending more and more time online. While we're able to pay our bills and communicate with friends and catch up on the news faster than ever, we are also encountering problems that weren't present for previous generations. That's why I want to create the Cyber Awareness and Protection Unit. It's the perfect opportunity for the public advocate to step in and help, from cyberbullying to identity theft, to protecting users' privacy. We will increase awareness and help victims, no matter how young or old, report abuses and follow through. 5, Public Advocate at Your Doorstep initiative. The Office of the Public Advocate belongs to all New Yorkers. They shouldn't have to be government experts to seek help. We will bring the office to where the constituents are. We will hold town hall style forums in every borough and make our presence felt in every neighborhood. We will make sure the public knows that when there is a problem, you can always call the public advocate for help. 6, the Immigrant Support Unit. Immigrants aren't just in our businesses, school, and houses of faith. In New York City, immigrants are part of our DNA, part of our city, part of our community. And that's why the Office of the Public Advocate will include an immigrant support unit that focuses on helping immigrants access vital services and assist them in overcoming obstacles through education and empowerment. We will work with the many immigrant support not-for-profit organizations and other groups in immigrant-rich communities to crack down on fraud and crimes that target immigrants and help them navigate the path to citizenship. We will help make sure immigrants know that they have a friend and a voice and an office for them to turn to in a time of crisis. The challenges of today demand outside the box, courageous leadership that is community-centered. You see, solutions to our biggest problems have never come from the top down. The best, most transformative improvements are most often the result of grassroots activism, rising to the top.
Right on.
We've seen it in our district. This is the concept my entire public service career has been grounded upon. Our city is truly wonderful, and there's no place any of us would rather be. but it can't truly be a bastion of success unless economic and social justice are extended to each of its citizens, regardless of the color of their skin, where they worship, the language they speak, their economic status, or who they choose to love. And economic and social justice doesn't just come to us. We must fight for it and stand up whenever anyone calls our office. Well, I am standing up today, and I'm standing with all of you. And when all of us, because all of you now will be ambassadors of the Public Advocate Office.
Thank you.
I'll continue to stand up and fight for our communities. I'll stand up for social and economic progress for all. I'll stand up for every single neighborhood. And I'll stand up to make sure that the promise of our city is the destiny of every man, woman, and child who calls it home. Let's win this campaign. And let's make New York stronger, more vibrant, more inclusive than ever before. We're on to victory. Thank you all for coming. There's a number of district leaders here, too many for me to mention. So I just want to thank all the district leaders who represent troops on the ground. And I see, let me just say, I see representatives from Staten Island. Staten Island in the house? I see Bronx in the house. I see Queens in the house. I know I see Brooklyn in the house. And I see Manhattan in the house. Well, it looks like we're covered.